for joining us, and thank you for being so flexible on the time. We don't normally change the time of a TAC meeting, but I think it was, and considering the weather, I am very pleased to see so many of you here, but also want you to please take caution on the way out because the winds will be higher, and then it's supposed to start raining. But anyway, I'm going to take attendance, and we also need to approve the minutes. Can you hear? We'll start with the phone. Okay, so we're supposed to recite the names, so let me just do it this way so that since there's so many people on the phone.
On the bottom. On the bottom.
Okay, here we go. So
I'm sorry.
all right, Mark Dorr, I know that you're on, so thank you. Is Kristen Jarnigan on? Not yet. Okay, Johnny Evers? No. Linda Ayers? Okay, those are who,
Keep going.
we have Dan Fuller.
I'm on.
All right, terrific, Dan. Tom Mulroy? No.
Tom was on.
He was? Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I just was on mute.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Tom. Thurman Thomas?
Yes, I'm here.
Terrific, Thurman. And Nancy Elder?
Hi, I'm here.
All right, terrific.
And Kelly Beckery's
And Kelly from ESD?
Yes, I'm on.
Terrific. Is there anybody else on the phone that I haven't called?
This is Mary Kay Verba from Duchess Tourism.
Okay, just repeat your name from Duchess Tourism.
Mary Kay Verba.
Mary Kay
Oh,
Verba.
Mary Kay. Hey, how are you? Okay.
Good, how are you?
Good.
Forever.
All right, anybody else?
Yes,
George,
Judy.
I'm sorry, you got to say again?
Judy
George.
has from Great Binghamton.
Hi, Judy Hess from Binghamton.
Okay, terrific.
And did I hear somebody else?
yes, George and Tim.
Oh, hi, George. Thanks for
Hi,
joining us.
Christine.
George is with Mary at
Yep.
McKee. Okay, terrific. We got you. Is this also, I need to go through the guests?
No,
right?
that's everyone here in the room. But George.
But George made it, okay. All right, terrific. All right, so now we will go around to those here in the room.
Mike Herzig is here, too.
Oh, thanks, Mike.
Spike Herzig.
Oh, Spike. Spike. All right, anybody else on the phone? Okay. All right, Gavin, you want to start us off?
Sure. Gavin Landry, I Love New York. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
I'm Randy Borshai. I'm a guest advisor in cultural matters.
Hi, Ross Levi with I Love New York.
Christine Nicholas, Chair.
Ali Saruta, TAC.
Pete Garfano, Tourism Advisory Council.
Kristen Hanovan, Lake George CVB.
Ken Wong, I Love New York.
Anna Packman, I Love New York.
Jennifer Rothman, Discover Long Island.
Catherine Nichols, TAC.
Eleanor Tatum, TAC.
David Holder, Visit Syracuse, the official home of winter.
Lisa Soto, I Love New York.
Kelly Garofalo, I Love New York.
Ethan McRae, I Love New York.
Jill Simonson, Luciano, Southwest Airlines.
Tara Carson, JetBlue. Ashley Graff, JetBlue.
Josiah Brown with New York's Best Experiences and also representing the New York State Tourism Industry Association as an executive board member.
Hi, Tom Martinelli, New York by Rail.
I'm Jennifer Walden, Wetburn, Director of Cultural Affairs for Queensborough President Linda Katz.
And my name is Anna Hugh, IT Help Desk.
Okay. Then while we were taking attendance, did anyone join us on the phone? Sure. Okay, terrific. Everyone should have received a copy of the minutes, and Kelly has additional copies if necessary. Any changes to propose? No? Okay, a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, Catherine, second?
Second.
David? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries and the minutes are approved. So, as Gavin wished us a Happy New Year, this is our first meeting of the new year. So Gavin's going to begin with an update of the exciting campaigns and the events that are happening this winter. I hope David didn't give it away a little bit on what's going on in Syracuse. And after that, Ross will provide an overview of the newly awarded projects and the projects that will be coming to fruition through the Market New York Round 6. And next, Kristen Hannafin from the Lake George Chamber and Jennifer Rothman from the Long Island CVB will talk about the value and opportunity in sports tourism and some of the success that we have seen across the state. And finally, we have a special guest today, David Holder, Visit Syracuse, who's going to be talking a little bit about the official home of winter. But before I do a brief update on TAC, there's also, I know we're going to talk a little bit about what happened in Syracuse today, right?
Yes, that's
okay. All right,
in
very
your
good.
report.
I know, but I'm so excited to get into that. Assemblyman Danny O'Donnell will be replacing Marge Markey as chair of the Assembly Committee on Tourism, Arts, and Sports Development. Assemblyman O'Donnell was elected to represent the 69th District in 2002. His district includes Manhattan Valley, Morningside Heights, and the Upper West Side. During his tenure in the Assembly, he has been the prime sponsor of several trailblazing bills, most notably the Marriage Equality Act. He was also the prime sponsor of New York's anti-bullying legislation, the Dignity for All Students Act. Assemblyman O'Donnell could not be here with us today since it is a session day, but we welcome him aboard and look forward to seeing him at a future meeting. I'm also happy to announce that we have a new TAC member, Ali Sirota. Welcome, Ali. It's good to see you now in your official capacity.
It's nice to be here.
Ali is the president and CEO of Sirota Public Relations, which he founded in February of 2012. SPR services clients in various industries, and she has secured coverage for her clients in the New York Post, Daily News, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, as well as CNN and CNN International, MSNBC, and the BBC. And prior to founding SPR, Ali worked at two well-known strategic communications firms, Global Strategy Group and Brown Lloyd James. In 2015, she was selected as one of the city's, state and city's 40 under 40 rising stars. So, Ali, welcome. Happy to have you.
I'm very excited to be here and participate with everybody. Should I say a little more? I was very moved by everybody's passion when I visited the last meeting. I absolutely love New York State. I have never lived a year outside of the state. I went to college and graduate school here and have been up and down this great state and been able to experience a lot of upstate, which most downstate people have not had the opportunity to do. So I'm excited to...
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Syracuse.
Syracuse. Okay,
All right.
see, this is a Syracuse day.
As every day should
Is
be.
that why we have to bring the storms with you?
As I said when I walked in, I'm very disappointed with our basketball team right now. But anyway, I'm excited to be here and work with everybody to promote this wonderful state and get more people here. Enjoy everything we have to offer.
Well, we look forward to working with you, Ali, and by the governor's appointing you, that means that we only have now 4 vacancies left on the board. 4 total. 1 appointed by the governor, 2 recommended for appointment by Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, and 1 recommended for appointment by Senate Minority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins. I saw a few emails that some are in the works, so hopefully by the time we have our next meeting, we will have full check. And again, if you have suggestions, please don't hesitate to send in the resumes and we will circulate them. As you know, this year the governor delivered his State of the State agenda in sort of a unique way by traveling, which we love, traveling the state. And I'm happy to report that tourism was prominently discussed as a real success story and an important part of his vision for a growing New York State. Many of his tourism-related proposals are commitments to continue his tremendous investments in the infrastructure that directly relates to tourism, such as renovating our airports and bridges. We have a video here that talks to some of the infrastructure projects that are currently in the works and planned. Please show the video.
You are what you build. It's almost that simple. We have a vision for our future, we have an ambition, creativity, and competence, and we build to make that vision a reality. Without a vision for the future, without a goal on the horizon, you are at a standstill, and at best maintaining the status quo.
New York State is home to 20 million people, all moving, running, riding, and driving. In less than 100 years, New York's population has almost doubled. In the past, New Yorkers have built some of the most impressive structures in the world. A 363-mile canal, 233 miles of subway, a 570-mile toll road, and some of the most innovative bridges in history. But over the past few decades, we lost our initiative. Now, New York is regaining its ambition with the largest construction and development investment in America. A $100 billion infrastructure investment. Governor Cuomo's motto, build where you grow.
Governor Cuomo stood out among the nation's governors by saying, infrastructure investment road is the road we've got to travel if we want jobs, economic growth, and if we want to compete and win.
You want to grow New York, you need a capacity to bring in more people.
New York State's unprecedented $100 billion infrastructure investment will build the new New York. It's an investment that will rebuild and reimagine our airports, that will turn the Penn Farley complex into one of the most advanced transit stations in the entire world, that will spend billions rebuilding upstate roads, bridges, and airports, that will remake the Javits Convention Center, adding over 1.2 million square feet, and that will get the new Tappan Zee Bridge built and ready on time and on budget. And of course, our $100 billion infrastructure investment will benefit mass transit. Our new investment in mass transit will reduce commuting times, increase productivity and sustainability, and safety while it reduces emissions. For the MTA alone, New York State is investing a record $27 billion to upgrade, revitalize, modernize, and bring an outdated system into the future. There's the new 2nd Avenue subway, a promise made nearly a century ago that we made happen in 2016. The 2nd Avenue subway is here. We are also bringing 2nd and 3rd tracks to the overextended LIRR, building East Side access for the LIRR, adding Metro North stations in the Bronx, 33 extensively renovated subway stations throughout the system, reimagining a new Penn Farley complex, and we are introducing cashless tolling on 9 MTA crossings, incorporating greater security and anti-terrorism measures with specially trained personnel and equipment. The Empire State is building today for a better tomorrow, while honoring a tradition of public works that inspire. There will be dazzling displays of artwork to transform our harbor into a harbor of lights. Our bridges will be a celebration of crossings, and our tunnels will welcome the world. And in our new subway, the largest public art installation in state history.
We need to make investments to make sure that the next generation comes here, is able to earn a living here, brings their families here, and make sure that the infrastructure that is necessary for the next generation is there.
Well, this is a clear opportunity for both business and government to partner because it's a win-win for both of us. Creates jobs, creates economic opportunity, creates improvements for the local community.
The governor's plan is creating 250,000 construction jobs.
It's been a half a century and more since anyone's thought of New York State and New York City as a whole and said, what do we have to do to really make a difference in this city and state? That's what this plan does.
We never said no. No challenge was too big. Tallest building after tallest building. That's who we are. New York is built to lead.
Wow. That was terrific. Before Barbara Lee Diamond Spielvogel, I believe, joined.
Yes, I did.
Very good. And anybody else on the phone that joined?
Linda Ayers from Finn Partners.
All right, terrific, Linda. Okay, and just a reminder for those on the phone, if you wouldn't mind pressing your mute button, that would be terrific. We just saw a video for those on the phone, which I think will be also on the website.
It's in the
So
governor's website,
yeah,
correct.
so you can.
Yes, we heard it and saw it.
All right, terrific. So, but as you can see in this video, it really emphasizes the governor's commitment to tourism. In fact, what he's done over the past 6 years is really remarkable. Okay, just a reminder for those of you on the phone, could you press your mute button, please? Thank you. Okay. So, you know, it wasn't long ago before the governor was in office when tourism wasn't even mentioned in the State of the State or in the budget addresses. And now in the State of the State report, tourism fills a full 12 pages. So we're going to just whittle it down a little bit for you. It includes the long overdue renovation of JFK, as you saw, which will accommodate our increasing domestic and international visitors, as well as a $35.8 million investment towards Syracuse Hancock International Airport's $45.1 million for transformation. I would say it even if you weren't here. Plattsburgh International Airport will also be renovated as part of a $43 million overhaul of the North Country's Aviation Gateway, expanding the Buffalo Billion Initiative by $500 million to continue the successful revitalization of Buffalo and increase visitation, expand ride-sharing services throughout New York, such as Uber, which will help facilitate transportation to tourism destinations for visitors without cars, creating a new Empire State Trail by 2020 through the completion of the Hudson River Valley Greenway and Erie Canalway trails. It will be the largest multi-use trail in the nation at 750 miles for hiking and biking. $160 million in transformative projects on Long Island, including $120 million for the Long Island Railroad, which brings thousands of tourists to the island's beaches, wineries, and other tourist attractions. Establish the Taste New York Culinary Trail System, which will assist New York's branded trail systems with additional statewide promotion. And in addition, the governor included several other tourism initiatives in his budget proposal, including $70 million for I Love New York tourism and business marketing, of which $55 million will be solely used for New York tourism marketing. $1.5 billion to improve roadway access to JFK, $700 million to support the development of the world-class Moynihan Train Hall with more space than Grand Central Terminal's main concourse, serving the Long Island Railroad and Amtrak connector. $108 million for the Kingsbridge National Ice Center, developing the currently vacant Kingsbridge Armory in the Bronx into an ice sports facility. $150 million reconstruction project to overhaul a highly congested corridor that feeds the Woodbury Common Premium Outlets. Funding for I Love New York Welcome Centers, modeled after the successful Long Island Welcome Center to highlight each region's tourism assets. And finally, just this morning, we had 3 major tourism initiatives announced by the governor. $70 million for Phase 2 of the revitalization of the New York State Fairgrounds. $20 million for a major upgrade at Gore and Whiteface. And $32 million for Gateway to the Adirondacks, a new world-class tourism hub located at Northway Exit 29. We have some exciting opportunities to expand the state's promotion of tourism. There are links to the full budget and State of the State proposals on your agenda, so you can read more about them at your leisure. Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot.
I think it's something that we can all be very thankful for and look forward to this year and many years to come. So now I would like to hand it over to our Executive Director. Gavin will be filling us in on I Love New York's plans for the winter, which include winter commercials, beautiful destinations, and niche Catskills campaign, New York Times travel show, and the winter press trip. So Gavin, it's all yours.
Thank you, Christine. Again, thanks everybody for making the trek on a blustery day here. I did want to start by just reintroducing Kelly Garofalo, who is brand new to our team. She's going to be your point person for TAC moving forward. Lisa has been doing 4 or 5 jobs at the same time, but we're very fortunate to have Kelly. Kelly has a background in tourism. Do you want to just tell everybody a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I got my master's in tourism administration from the George Washington University about a year and a half ago.
Well, welcome.
And she was second in Sweden for sustainable tourism?
Yeah, for Switzerland, the World Tourism Forum. They had like a Young Innovators Sustainable Tourism Award, and I won second place for
So we told her next time it has to be first, now that she's part of the team. But we're really glad to have Kelly on board, and certainly happy to be able to allow Lisa to focus on her efforts on the licensing and PR programs and all the other partnership work that she does for us. And by the way, I also footnote that everything I say is really about all of our team, and there's not the entire team is here obviously, but everyone around this table and so on and so forth. I mean, I get the pleasure of talking about what we're doing, but it's literally a wonderful thing to be a part of a team now for 4 years that has been growing and building on every success. and watching it go from, I think, what we talked about last time, which was aspirational, where we sat around the first tourism summit almost 4 years ago, right, Christine? And folks were saying, it'd be great if we could do this, it'd be great if we could do that. And now the conversation has really switched to look at what we've done, look what we've accomplished, and the reinvestments that are being made in all that good work. So my job today is to talk to you a little bit about what we're working on for the winter. We are definitely in planning mode, sort of thinking about, because we're on fiscal that ends in the end of March, but we're also in a time period that's very heavy and busy from a standpoint of trade and media work that we've got going on. So this calendar here just gives you a little snapshot of some of the things that are happening. Winter Media Night, which already happened, took place at a new location on November 15th, where we actually invite the press to talk about things that they could write about in the coming season. The commercials, which I'll show you in just a moment. Beautiful destinations and niche, some of the work that's being done by the digital team, and I'm actually going to defer to Anna when we get to that point. A couple of newspaper print pieces in Strauss, which is mainly focused on the New York metro market to get people to get out of town. The New York Travel Show, which is later this week. And then Winter Jam, which is an event that is actually put on by the folks from New York City Parks, but Orta and Saney are a big part of when that comes around on an annual basis, and we, of course, support it. So let me just start by showing you the commercials that are in market. They just dropped, I want to say Friday, right, Lisa?
Yeah, Friday.
Friday in market, and we'll be running for the next few weeks in target areas throughout the state and in regional markets as well.
There's one state that has more ski mountains to choose from than any other in the country. And that's not the only thing you can only find in New York State. You can find it all, only in New York. New York, it's all here. It's only here. Plan your winter getaway at iloveny.com.
If you want to celebrate winter in a palace of ice, there's only one place to go. And that's not the only thing you can only find in New York State. You can find it all, only in New York. New York, it's all here, it's only here. Plan your winter getaway at iloveny.com.
So you can see that we have, the beauty of the consistent funding is that we've been on air now for, literally the past, I think it's since the governor has been in office, and the consistent ability for us to have high-reach advertising, the TV advertising that's then supported by the digital and all the grassroots work that we do underneath that is so important. And in fact, I'm proud, just as we look at even the content of the advertising, the TAC has been contributing to the content of that marketing and the advertising. Noticing in this commercial that we're featuring a very family-centric kind of message, again, targeting folks that could think of New York State in a family way as a place to have distinct and unique experiences that would be great, to build memories with the family. So you'll notice that throughout the summer work as well as we're building that. And I might footnote that you are probably aware that there are some major anniversaries happening this year that the governor's office has really come right out and said they want to be quite supportive of. To note those, we will be echoing that same sentiment throughout our work throughout the summer and the rest of the year, and that includes the women's suffrage, 200th anniversary of the canal, and 100th of women's suffrage, 200th of the canal, and 100th of World War I, remembrance of World War I. And so Ross actually sits on the commission, has been appointed to the commission, is that right? The Suffrage Commission?
Unofficially.
Unofficially, ad hoc. I think I'm the ad hoc for the World War I Commission, and we'll be looking at lots of great work around the canals, which David, in fact, Visit Syracuse is one of the key folks that helped to recruit the World Canal Conference that is coming to Syracuse later this year. So this is a Syracuse Day, isn't it? It really is. So, yes, so stay tuned for all that. Anyhow, next in terms of our digital work, and in just a moment I'd like to ask Anna if you wouldn't embellish just a minute, but I think you remember us talking about the work we've done with Beautiful Destinations, the #1 influencer on Instagram. Much of that work has been targeted towards the Catskills under the governor's commitment to the Catskills. There was a $5 million commitment to the Catskills, which the Catskills chose to break into 2 years, 2.5 for each of 16, 17, and then 17 into 18. So we've continued that work with Beautiful Destinations and then added in a new partner in Niche. So Anna, if you wouldn't mind just telling the folks a little bit about that work.
Sure. So building upon the winter campaign, I would also actually, before I even get into this, encourage everyone to visit ilovenewyork.com, like the commercials say. Under Ethan's leadership, the editorial team has created a lot of great long-form content that can help you plan an itinerary and all that. Maybe a couple of mentions of Syracuse somewhere in there, I don't know, but probably. So we decided to partner with Beautiful Destinations again for the winter, building on the success that we saw in the fall. So in the fall, we sent them to the Catskills, and they shot some really beautiful content. You can find it on our Facebook page, facebook.com/official iloveny. It performed really, really well, all in all, across Facebook, Instagram, the work that they did on their Snapchat channels. We saw over 88 million total impressions, actually almost 15 million engagements. And the great thing about Beautiful Destinations for us is that we're actually able to see who traveled. So they have the software to track people who engaged with one of their posts or one of our posts that actually liked one of their pictures from the Catskills, and they're actually able to see if they showed up in the Catskills at a later point in time, which is really great for us. So these are people who are not only traveling, but then also sharing their own photos to Instagram, which is how we're able to do that. So it's a very, very deep level of engagement. We saw 600 such users, which is a very positive ROI for the campaign in the fall. And so later this week, we're going to be launching the content that they shot for the winter campaign. A lot of it is action-oriented. They went skiing, they went snowboarding, as you can see in the picture here in the presentation. That's one of their shots. They also did some footage around more scenic and relaxed vacations, really hitting every travel style and interest. And building on that success, we also decided to expand our influencer program to include more than Beautiful Destinations. We worked with a company called Niche to recruit 6 influencers from the New York City area who also traveled to the Catskills this winter. Those 6 people have a combined 4.36 million followers who are very engaged with what they post, and they're mostly posting about travel, about lifestyle, and they went all around the Catskills, featured some of our best lodging, some of our best places to eat there, activities, and that all actually is online, started last Friday as well. So really tying into that winter campaign.
That's great, and I can tell you that I get invited sort of on a courtesy basis to Anna meetings with her team, and it's so much fun to listen to what everyone is talking about and to hear our social media agency, their thoughts, and under Anna's leadership, just to see what is developing on these platforms. It's really making a difference. And I also wanted to add in, just in terms of talking about winter, you know, we've seen the pie grow, right? We've seen now $102 billion economic impact for New York State tourism, which is an incredibly important milestone that we reached. But we've also seen our shoulder seasons grow, which is quite impressive because, you know, we all know that summer is the busiest time period for travel in New York State. That's been tried and true for years and years. But to see the fall and the winter grow, and now winter accounts for 21% of all the total spend for tourism, that's really where we can see the results of some of the work we've been doing. So, you know, it's encouraging to see, and why, of course, it's important for the winter to be such an important focus of our effort. Okay. It wouldn't be my time if it wasn't for something beeping on the phone while I talk. So, next I'd like to talk to you about the New York Times Travel Show. We are excited about the show. We have a whole kind of broad layout of graphics and partners, 18 partners that are with us for the New York Times Travel Show. But even more importantly, we are at this point having FAM tours going throughout the state. They're actually in state right now. 3 different FAM tours happening: Long Island, in the Hudson Valley and in Central New York, where we were oversubscribed. We actually had more people have interest in these FAM tours than we could allow to take the FAM. So we really did a good job of just kind of screening and making sure that the folks were the best possible partners we could have on the FAMs for the New York Times Travel Show. Again, this is new for our effort from years ago, right? This was not something that we could do without the level of funding and support from the governor and from the TAC. And so to have 18 partners showing up with us at the Javits Center for later this week, which is including not only just the consumer-facing piece, but also an meet the experts, kind of ask the experts piece, which of course yours truly, Ross Levi, is one of the experts, and as he should be, and many others. I think Kristen Jarnigan from Long Island is going to be one of the Ask the Experts. Don Bennett from Campground Owners of New York is going to be one of the Ask the Experts. So it's really a good group of folks that are coming to support this effort at the Javits Center. And we brought in the canals folks because obviously this is an important year for canals, but also we want to extend that partnership to any of the agencies, whether it's parks, DEC, others that have impact on the tourism industry. We want them to be part of these events with us, and it just kind of reinforces our partnership. Any questions on that before I move on? Okay. And before I turn it over to Ross, lastly, I did mention the winter press trips. As they are taking place now, I want to thank Finn Partners. Linda Ayers is on the phone. They've continued to do fantastic work for us, I think, now in many years with the team. Very well-respected work around the state. And then later, of course, we have a couple other things going on. Macaroni Kid Ski Day. I don't know if you follow. Does anybody follow Macaroni Kid? It's sort of a online media property that helps families to discover destinations and so on and so forth. So we have a kids ski day that's happening on February 2nd at Plattekill, and then individual ski trips throughout February and March that Lisa and Finn Partners are coordinating with folks as we continue to try to support not only this year's ski season, but looking at the long lead media that might read about this for going into next year. So that is really my part of the TAC today. Before I turn it over to Ross, any questions for me? The New York State Travel Guide for the winter. Ross is asking me to point out, so you have it here. Years ago, when defunding and attriting occurred of the Division of Tourism prior to Governor Cuomo, this piece went away and didn't exist, and it was combined. So we had a summer, fall, and winter travel guide, which, as they say, if you try to be all things to all people, you're none to anyone. So in some ways it might have been the case, but now we're very happy to have the winter travel guide back in the mix. And we released this in advance of the winter season. We distribute it through a group called CTM. Many of you may know them. So it goes throughout all of Canada. It goes throughout all of our travel plazas and rest areas, as well as many regional locations. And then, of course, it's handed out by the Ski Association of America when they do all of their events leading up to the winter season. So I hope you enjoy that and take some time to peruse that when you get the chance.
Gavin, how many did we, do you know the print run?
On the winter travel guide, I think we're at about 75,000, Ross. Is that right? It could be higher than that. I know the summer we're at 250, but this one I'll double back with everybody. Let them know.
I appreciate you doing this. I know, Anna, you've done such a great job online and social, but there are some of us in my generation that really, really enjoy. I dog ear them, I highlight them, I circle them, and then I remember to go back.
I do the same thing.
Sometimes, you just don't have time or you can't see it on your phone. So I'm glad that we're still doing this.
I leave them
We're
in my
doing
car.
it again. I know, because,
Because you might be somewhere and you need something to do.
And how often have you gone when you're heading someplace and you have to go on their website to find the address to put in the GPS, and they don't put the address right up front? So this will help.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, and it's really funny because we are literally out of the travel guides now. We have these, of course, which are keeping us in good shape for winter, but the other travel guides are officially all gone, which is the way we would like to have it happen, is that there's so much demand for those pieces that they're no longer. So we are in advance of the new guide, which Ross is working on with the pubs team. We're doing what we call a knockdown kind of inspiration guide. So it's going to be a smaller, I think 12 to 18 pages, Ross, is that right? Which will help us to get up until the time we have the next summer travel guide ready for distribution. So, yeah, it's been great, and I do the same thing, Christine, with my publications. I still like getting the newspaper too. I guess I'm in that category.
But these are online?
They are available online as well, yeah, and many people do download them.
There's a link also on the back of your agenda that has links to state of the state book, the travel guide, the commercials.
Look
at
at
all.
that. You've thought of everything.
And we've done a little light research just of people who have requested some of our travel guides, and the interesting thing we find is that its average age does appear to be, not in the 20s, more in the 50s, but also that just about everyone that gets the travel guide also interacts with the website. So it is, those things go in hand. I guess not surprisingly, their interaction with social media is extremely low. So we are getting different audiences in the different platforms we do, which in the end is the key, right?
Well,
to get
if
people.
your target for winter is family, you're looking at 30, 40,
Sure.
50 and above, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody have any questions for me before I turn it back over to the chair and to Ross? No? I bored you enough in that time period. Thanks for the ability to make the report. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Gavin. Ross, you want to talk to us about Market New York Round 6?
Sure. So I think a lot of you are probably very intimately familiar with the Regional Economic Development Council process. It was established in 2011 by Governor Cuomo as sort of a new way of doing economic development in New York State, with the idea of that not being top down anymore, but bottom up, that every region in the state would have a Regional Economic Development Council, as we call them, the REDCs. Some people call them Red Cs, but I've never heard anybody, that seems to be external versus internal, but whatever government acronym you want to do. The REDC is made up of business leaders, academics, elected officials, so that you really have everyone coming together and working together to think about how economic development is done. As part of that, the Consolidated Funding Application, the CFA, was created, which was one application where people could go to apply for economic development money throughout New York State. And so since that was established in 2011, collectively $4.6 billion has been awarded through the REDC process to more than 5,200 projects. So that's pretty substantial. This year's awards were announced just in December 8th, made over $700 million in economic development resources available for over 30 programs across 11 different state agencies. As a subset of that, there is a particular track called Market New York. That is a grant program under the CFA that came into being 1 year after the REDC process started in 2012, specifically to strengthen tourism and attract visitors to New York State through the promotion of destinations and attractions and special events. That funding is available for marketing projects, available for capital projects, available to put on and attract events to New York State, promote special events, industry trade shows, all kinds of other things. The program is administered by Kelly Baccarizzo, who you heard early on was introduced. She's up in Albany, part of our Eye of New York team. She does this pretty much single-handedly, which is kind of unheard of for a grant of this size, and we're actually working on getting her more support to do this. But I'm only presenting it because I could be here in person today and Kelly didn't. She really is the heroine of this program and does really phenomenal work, so we appreciate all she does around that. Initially, when the Market New York piece launched back in 2012, it was $3 million available for tourism. That has grown to $13.5 million in this last round that was announced in December. Just a couple of examples of success stories of the sort of tourism projects that have been funded through Market New York. Some of you know about the New York State Haunted History Tour. That is a 21-county initiative around paranormal and historical destinations, a marketing program that utilizes haunted locations, guided tours, haunted inns, ghostly events to attract leisure and group travel. The Wild Center, many of us know up in the Adirondacks, in creating their amazing Wild Walk, getting promotions and getting people aware of that, was able to put together a research and outreach project to attract the next generation of Adirondack tourists. And also the hosting of the World Canals Conference in Syracuse in 2017 received funding through the Market New York program as well. So overall, $13.5 million to 71 projects were announced in this last round. And the way that broke down was $4.7 million was for the marketing piece, 42 different regional tourism marketing programs, $6.7 million for capital projects, 21 different tourism capital projects, and $2 million for 8 tourism and special events projects. It's important to note that even this $13.5 million for Market New York is only a small piece of the REDC projects that influence tourism. Overall, when we went through and we looked at everything that was awarded and those things that fairly directly touch tourism, we found about $113 million worth of projects, 398 of them that were at least pretty substantially tourism related. So the REDC program is going to a lot to support tourism. Some of the announcements that came out in December we thought you might be interested under the special events track.
Special
effects. Some of them have special effects.
That's
I
my
guess.
role. That's not your
right. 15 different projects with a total, in total, 6 of them being sporting events. A couple of examples: the Capital Region New York Penn League All-Star 2017 Baseball Sporting Event Series. It's basically the All-Star of, I think, I forget which class of minor league baseball it is. We'll bring visitors and players from around the nation in the Capital Region. There's this really great troupe called, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, Plasticines Volants.
Anna speaks French, she can tell you.
Yeah, right, exactly. I took Spanish.
Plastic.
It is a performing arts troupe that creates giant inflatable puppets and balloons. You may have seen them as part of the Sochi Winter Olympics opening ceremony. Well, there has been a grant given to the Art Park Company in Western New York to bring this group to Western New York and do an exhibition and performance there.
Yeah, they're going to be part of the Fringe Festival, too. So that's in Rochester. Yeah,
There you go. Great.
Which is great.
Another special event was a Star Trek convention in Essex County. And Pride on the Beach in Long Island. So you can see these are some really great events that have gotten funding through this. Some of the capital projects, one was a project of the Cascade Ski Center in the North County region to upgrade their snowmaking and tourism infrastructure, particularly to help them be more of a year-round operation rather than just winter. And the Finger Lake region's Science Center Discovery Museum to replace or renovate all of the museum's indoor and outdoor exhibitions, which will hopefully dramatically enhance the region's ability to attract visitation. So those are a couple examples of capital. And then marketing, the African American Heritage Marketing Initiative by Visit Buffalo Niagara, which is a really great niche heritage initiative. And Long Island East End Tourism, Find It on the Forks agritourism marketing programs. There were also a number of projects announced that very much relate to the work of the subcommittees that the TAC had, particularly last year, and a lot of the work that those subcommittees did in making recommendations. The Lodging Committee, for example, one of their recommendations was to recognize that the REDC program had been very successful in helping to spur hotel projects and that it should continue to be utilized that way. There were 9 hotel-related projects totaling $9.36 million in this round announced in December. That includes the Northern Crossing 55-room boutique Lakeview Hotel in Central New York and the Tupper Lake Crossroads Boutique Hotel in the North Country. There were 4 transportation tourism-related projects that totaled $617,000. For example, the city of Dunkirk in Western New York has a comprehensive plan to address transportation, parks and recreation, public access, historic preservation, and economic development overall. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there were 12 sporting events type projects through the REDC process, totaled $4.65 million. In addition to the ones I mentioned, that also includes the Yonkers Sports Events Center, the Monroe County renovation of Bill Gray's Regional Iceplex in Finger Lakes. So you get the overview. This is a lot of different stuff, of a lot of different types that are being funded through the REDCs. Looking ahead to the upcoming year, which will be round 7, the seventh round of grants, the governor announced that $1 million would be added to the Market New York track. Specifically, $1 million will continue for special events. $2 million will be added, and that's specifically for agritourism initiatives. Recognize the importance of craft beverages, wineries, UPIC, all the sort of important agritourism assets we have in New York State. And that leaves still that $12 million that's still there for other general marketing and capital programs. So in general, a total of $15 million, going from 13.5 announced this last December to $15 million for the upcoming year, pending, of course, the budget process and approval, but that at least is what's been proposed. So we're excited on our front that this continues to be a really important asset to make sure tourism partners across the state have access to initiatives and resources from the state to be great partners and do great tourism work as well. Kelly, is there anything I didn't mention that you would want to highlight or that I should add? If you're still there.
No, not at all. I think you did a wonderful job recapping.
Thank you.
Ross,
And if I could just add, I mean, Kelly does a phenomenal job, as Ross mentioned. I can't thank her enough. And also just the idea that the TAC should take some great pride because, year one, tourism was not part of the CFA. Year two, it was $3 million. It's now grown to $15 million. And that's because the governor has absolutely supported this industry, and it's thanks to Christine and to Thurman and the TAC over the course of these past years that it has become so firmly part of the economic development platform. So really, these things are cumulative. The fact that the airports are being done, the fact that the train station, so on and so forth, the very, very important top-line assets. But these projects, these grassroots projects, are being sent up by the actual regions themselves. So it's really important that we support, what the regions think is the most important to them in terms of tourism.
Sure. Yeah, Christine was pointing out to let folks know. When you hear about how much money is for tourism in a given year, so for example that $55 million, that includes the Market New York track, but doesn't include the rest of the CFA. So the $15 million is part of when the governor announces $55 million in tourism for the upcoming year. That includes the $15 million, including the growth from 13.5 to 15, but doesn't include that other, whatever it was, 100-something million, 400-something of tourism projects throughout the REDC outside of the Market New York track.
So the infrastructure projects that we went over early on would not be included in the 55 million, but obviously when we're talking about improving the airports, that's really going to benefit tourism development. Mm-hmm. So when 55 is really just a starting point.
Well, and what's worth pointing out is that even, for example, the airports, that's outside the REDC process, right?
Correct.
So you sort of have these multi-levels, right? On one level you have our small but important $15 million specifically for tourism. You have the rest of the REDC, and I'm looking back at my figure because I can never remember exactly what it was overall.
750. It's generally around 750.
But another 750 through the CFA process outside of the Market New York, and then you have all these other initiatives. Those three things that the governor announced today, the fair, the Whiteface and Gore, and the tourism center in the Adirondacks, that's all outside of this. The airport stuff's outside of this. The Moynihan Station's outside of this. So to Gavin's point, there's an incredible amount of commitment and resources going to tourism.
It really is. So thank you. Thanks, Kelly. So now I am going to introduce our good friend Ken, although I think we all know Ken.
Hi, everybody.
He's part of ESD and has been tremendously helpful in trying to help that piece of the event, build that and also create or attract sports development. So,
sure.
Ken?
Thanks, Christine. Yeah, just a little bit of context and this part of the meeting. Over the past several years, this council has...
Turn the mic towards you so that people on the phone can hear you.
There you go. Over the past several years, this council has taken a very collaborative approach to evaluating different areas of industry that can affect the tourism industry as a whole. One of those subsets is the events industry, and specifically sports tourism, which is one of the things we're going to be talking about shortly. As a result of this, we've had several informational sessions and meetings to really kind of get informed about the state of the industry in New York State. We've worked very well with, and quite frankly, just depending on our local partners here to really get that boots on the ground feel, to know what's happening in the field. And so as a result of some of these info sessions, we've been able to help inform some of the initiatives that have come out of the administration, such like some of the things that Ross has been talking about. So that's kind of what we're here today, and I'm going to pass it over to Peter to really talk about the genesis of today's presentation.
Through the TAC chair, Christine, and through the subcommittee chair for sports and special events, Thurman Thomas, who's on the phone with us. Thank you, Ken. And taking it a little further and area specific, we have with us today Kristen Hannafin, who is a Special Events and Convention Sales Director from Lake George CVB, Jennifer Rothman, who is the Sports Development Manager for Discover Long Island. And they'll be presenting information concerning sports tourism industry in their respective areas and how a great potential for growth in this part of the tourism industry exists. I'd also like to personally thank them both for all the time, effort, and patience they've had in putting this presentation together. So, ladies, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Pete, for the introduction, and thank you all for letting us come here to discuss sports tourism with you all. Kelly, you can switch your slide. All right, sports tourism. In this slide, you'll see that the growth in sports tourism from 2012 to 2015 has increased. These numbers are based on economic visitor spending, which include lodging, restaurant, attraction, and since most of these athletes are coming from out of state, it actually affects the airlines too, Southwest and JetBlue, that are here. According to the National Association of Sports Commission, where these numbers have come from, we are still seeing a growth in sports tourism happening. Kelly, you can switch the slide.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about youth sports tourism trends. One of the growth segments within the sport tourism industry as a whole that with continued economic impacts across the U.S. that we're finding is the youth sports market. Youth sports tourism usually means the age group from 18 and under brings new visitors to destinations of which 60% of these folks, if they've had a positive experience, will return at a later date for that vacation in that area. Youth sports is also recession-proof, with parents often foregoing their traditional family vacations due to lack of time, money, tournament schedules, booking instead what we're seeing is sportcations, adding a day on the front and the back end of their kids' tournament weekends to enjoy the area that they are in. So on an average, a family of four can spend an upwards of $900 to $1,000 on a 3-day weekend tournament, including gas, lodging, activities. In high season, the number can vary depending on the time of year, but these are the numbers that are starting to come back. And youth sports events can also help fill that off-season time and help drive tourism dollars that are normally seasonal destinations more year-round. So we here in the Lake George area in particular are really starting to see that impact of this trend, as you'll see from the next slide. While the Lake George area is somewhat relatively new to an aggressive sport tourism promotion, the impacts that this market segment is having is really being felt in our area. As you can see from the slide, some of the big impactors for us locally include a semi-pro hockey tournament, the Adirondack Thunder, Golden Goal, which is a local sport complex which involves soccer, lacrosse, and field hockey. It was built by the same person who built the Field of Dreams in Cooperstown. And also, one amazing thing that we've been able to see in working with them this past year is that they've increased their business for camps and for tournaments by 80% in 1 year. And their numbers you can see there are growing. We're looking into this year's numbers, again, adding more tournaments, more visibility, and more folks coming. In addition, the Adirondack Sports Complex and Indoor Dome that hosts 23 tournaments for indoor softball over 7 months generates in that time frame approximately $2 million in economic impact. So as you can see, these are just some of the highlights in terms of participation, events, room nights that it's having on our economy locally in our area. But we also host the USCAA Collegiate World Series Baseball in May. We're bringing in a National Pro-Am Beach Volleyball Tournament this summer, which will be coming for 3 years to our lake. And we're also looking to add new lacrosse and wrestling tournaments in the coming year. So as we project the numbers and we look at what we've done over the past year, we're estimating between $22 to $25 million in economic impact for sports in our area. And as we look into 2017, that number is going to continue to grow and rise. Jen?
Jen, just 1 second.
Yeah,
Thank
yes.
you, Kristen. I just want to take a minute for whoever's on the phone that keeps getting a call and then putting us on hold. We hear the whole, it's very annoying. I don't mean to sugarcoat it, but please stop doing it. Thank you. Go ahead.
So, Jen?
Thank you. So there are sport organizers across the country, and where we meet them is at trade shows. There's about 10 different sports trade shows that we attend. Majority of the trade shows that New York State attends is the National Association of Sports Commission. That's going to take place at the end of March. Sports Relationship Conference that will happen in September, and the Teams Conference that happens in October. So here are just some of Long Island's people that we have met and events that we've put together. Diva Half Marathon actually hosted their inaugural race on Long Island in 2010. They will be coming back for their 7th year, and we did just sign a 5-year contract with them. U.S. Synchronized Swimming, who host the U.S. Junior Olympics, they will be hosting, this will be my 2nd year hosting their U.S. Open, and then last year we did their Junior Olympics. U.S. Lacrosse and Tough Mudder will be coming back for their 3rd year this year. With the Youth Baseball Championships, this is part of the United States Specialty Sports. So us attending these trade shows, we get to meet these sport organizers, and that's just some of the economic impact that it brings to your area. You can go to the next slide. So like what Kristen and I just said, those are just events that are happening on Long Island and in the Lake George area. There are other regions across New York State that are hosting sporting events like this, like Syracuse, Buffalo, Albany, Binghamton. You know, they're hosting the NCAA basketball championships. Albany is hosting the MAC championships. The Barclays Center in March is hosting the ACC basketball championships. These people are traveling all over the country to attend sporting events that we're about to host here in New York State. So it benefits everybody. From this map, you can see that the Northeast region is only 7% of sports tourism. So it's crazy that it's only
the whole region. That's not necessarily New York State. That's 7%.
No, that's the whole.
That's 7% of the
region.
Northeast region. The Northeast region is only 7% of that. So what we're looking at is like if New York State just comes together with the sporting events and collaborate together, we can probably take over that whole 7% and bring sporting events here to New York State and Long Island, yeah. But that's basically all about sports tourism and what we're doing and everyone else in the region of the sports commissions are doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Can I say one thing? Because
Yeah.
I think from a destination marketing perspective, the work that these two and many others have done to really push this whole sports market out there, I mean, it is literally an endless amount of growth that we can see. And I think we owe a lot to Kristen and Jennifer to taking this on and kind of pushing that message out there.
Thank you.
How many other states are active in this game, like recognizing this at a state level as a need?
There has been a growth in the states coming together. The National Association of Sports Commission told us that they've seen a grow in the past 3 years to 20 different states across the United States coming together as a state.
You know, Allie needs to leave so she has a question though. Right?
Sure.
Do you account for equestrian competitions within these numbers?
Yes, we actually, equestrian happens at the Hampton Classic out on Long Island. Yes. So we meet with some,
Central Park Horse Show?
Oh, that's
Yep.
Oh, that
Lake
one.
Placid Horse Show?
Lake Placid Horse Show.
Yeah,
I love
Lake
the
Placid.
horse show.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
3 weeks up there.
New York loves horses.
Socrates.
Yeah.
Horse shows in the summer.
Right.
Yep.
So that they were part of your.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. I'm surprised just because, I mean, comparatively speaking to other sports, we probably have a smaller group, but it's
a high economic impact.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think a lot of
Golf
people still
as well.
recognize
Golf, yeah.
the scope of the
More
industry.
swimming.
That's where it comes in. A lot of folks will come in. Not everything is. New York State. We could probably host. Well, we have hosted Olympics before,
Right.
But not necessarily everything needs to be Olympics in order to make a positive economic
Exactly.
impact.
Yes.
But actually, I know you mentioned, Jen, the kind of trade industry as the place to initiate these
Meetings.
conversations about getting events. That season starts.
We will start March 25th.
Right.
Okay.
Will be announced.
Yep.
And at these conferences, do you guys have separate booths or just one booth?
Yes. So where we have booths is the trade show that's called Teams, and that's at the end of the year. So we do have separate booths. Long Island, Buffalo, Lake George, Saratoga. Binghamton's not there at that one, and you guys are with MSG. So there's about 5 or 6 different regions that we're in a separate booth, though. What we do ask for them is to put us in a New York row, just so we're next to each other.
Okay.
We do ask for that. NASC is the trade show that's happening the end of March. Majority of your regions are at that show.
Now, where does that take place?
That is going to be in Sacramento, California this year.
And the difference, too, is that these are appointment-based marketplaces. So NASC is an appointment-based marketplace. Sports Relationship Conference is also an appointment-based marketplace. So we have pre-selected meetings that we are setting up one-on-one with sport rights holders and event planners that we will then meet face-to-face and have discussions and try to bring the new business into our areas.
And how do other states handle this?
It varies.
Okay.
It varies. Really.
Yeah, it definitely varies.
Or some of the bigger states like California that's going to have a gazillion different regions the way we
Okay. Yeah.
Or Texas.
They all come together as a city, and they're under, as all their cities come together as a state alliance. There'll be a sports state alliance. And what they do there is they will have one big booth at a trade show. They will do as a state networking events. They will do sponsorship stuff as a state.
So similarly to what we do
On the international level.
at World Travel Mart.
Yep.
Correct.
Very similar.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, alrighty. And the NASC, the trade show that travels around the country, has it been in New York at all?
Oh, wow. The NASC, I think, started back in 1992. They might have had a small trade show on Long Island, like back in 1998, like when it was small. We're up to about, 1,200 people that attend that now.
Buffalo bid on it just a few years ago.
Yeah.
And they chose a different city that did not have professional sports teams.
So Buffalo bid on it but didn't get it.
Correct.
Okay.
You're kidding, right?
No, I'm not kidding.
That's got to be Thurman.
Breaking Thurman's heart.
The New York contingent that would have been there to support Buffalo was thoroughly depressed, but not as depressed as the folks from Buffalo were.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how often do different regions in New York State compete for the same business?
We're actually not that competitive because there's so many different regions that have different type of sports facilities. I'll use the NCAA probably as the best example. The first and second rounds, I think they need 10 locations, 10, 12 locations. So they're at Buffalo, Albany, Syracuse, Barclays Center in New York, in the city right here, Brooklyn, sorry. We actually bid on them for future years at the new Coliseum, correct? But there are some events that we bid on but we'd rather it come to New York State. I'd rather lose a piece of business on Long Island to Lake George and it stay in the state.
It stays within.
It stays within the state. The only thing I think that we're really competition between is any of the New York State public high school championships because that has to stay within the state. But I don't think there was ever a piece of business that I lost outside of the state that we've lost that would be competition.
And Ken, I know we've done some research on this, but how many different sports tourism, what are they, sports commissions are there in New York State? Do we know?
Oh, off the top of my head, I mean, it's tough because some of them are formal commissions like Long Island. Some of them are actually just departments that live within an overarching CVB. So most of the CVBs will have somebody designated to deal with the field, but not necessarily have the infrastructure built in. So you'll have Jen will go out. You'll see Jen on the regional circuit a lot more than some of the smaller regions, TPAs, which still have assets to offer, but don't necessarily have the infrastructure to promote themselves because they don't have the staffing for it or a formal department. So it's a mixed bag. I would say formal.
I would say there was anywhere between 7 and 10. Can you give us? Yeah, about 7 to 10.
Well, we appreciate the work that you're doing, and if there's anything that we from the TAC can do to help with the bids, like if we know that, say, like George is competing for something that is outside currently of the state and needs to come in, if you need a letter or support, or Thurman, maybe, this is an opportunity, I think, for us to highlight Thurman Thomas, who is our vice chair. And I know that we would love for Thurman to, go with you if it means like bringing in a big event. That
sure. Absolutely. Right.
Thurman,
Yes.
yeah, do you agree with that?
Totally agree.
I'm
Yes,
sending you
I
out
totally
on a
agree
mission. Great.
That's what I'm here for.
We appreciate it. And then, we have, the airlines have been so supportive of TAC as well. So if
Love to
it's
talk to
going
them
be
more
in,
about
you guys
events
should
coming
pop
in.
on your own. If it's going to be in a city like Syracuse,
Mhm.
where, I know some JetBlue flies directly,
Mhm.
and if it's going to be where Southwest, or this is an opportunity, I think, to really help the greater good for New York State.
Absolutely.
So I think this is something we want to continue to do on our end on research, but we'd love to keep you guys posted. And remember, the TAC is open, so if you ever want to join us again, please feel free.
Great.
An open invitation.
And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to give us a call. We can help you with research.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, terrific. Thank
Thank
you. David, we have talked a lot about Syracuse today, or mentioned, but not really talked about Syracuse. So I'm going to talk about the official, my goodness. That's your marketing campaign, huh?
Yes.
Okay. I obviously have not seen this presentation before today, so take it away,
Kelly,
David.
probably easy if you and I just switch
Sure.
seats.
Sure. I think I'll get into the state fair.
All right. My job today is to talk about a program that actually is being funded through round 4 of Market New York. And it's kind of evolved over the years. And I'll give you a little insight on it, invite you to go check out some videos on your own time. I'm not going to give you the videos, but it's basically to really lock in place. Syracuse has officially proclaimed itself as the official home of winter.
Okay.
The gentleman on the screen is Winter. So let me walk through this. In 2015, we did a region-wide project where we really looked at our visitor profile. We wanted to understand what they were doing, what was motivating them, what was driving tourism to Central New York, or Central New York Regional Economic Development Council. You can see lots of great point of origins here, particularly in that northeast segment. One of the things that stood out through this is it was identified that our marketplace, the traditional Syracuse, Central New York marketplace, has become very mature and very saturated. And basically, we're marketing people who already know about us. They already are prone to come to Syracuse. To expand that, we've got to go outside our normal boundaries, typically outside of a 3-hour drive distance, appeal to a new market, and really go a little younger, which is really what all of this is backing up. We see that first-time visitors kind of low, multiple-time visitors pretty high. Not a bad problem to have until you start thinking long-term, what happens when this audience stops traveling? Are we influencing the next round of travelers? The other big outcome from that research was pointing towards peak season. We've talked about it today. There's been a lot of emphasis on winter today. Those winter months were literally half the numbers of travel performance that our summer months were. Half. Our businesses, if they had to depend on, if summer all of a sudden took a nosedive, they wouldn't be able to make what they need to make because of winter business. We've got to put an emphasis on driving winter-based business. So how do we do that? We need to really reclaim the way that we go about pushing winter. So this is a picture of the bread aisle in Atlanta, Georgia, during a winter storm. Okay? This is the dairy aisle of the same grocery store. They sell out of bread and they sell out of milk. In New York, particularly in Syracuse,
we deal with winter a different way. There's a forecast of snow, we go buy beer. We know how to deal with winter. We go out skiing. We go ice skating. We go hang out. Grab a cup of coffee. Watch this guy. Whether they're doing great or not, we're going and showing our support for the Syracuse Orange. We go shopping. We go and eat. And we eat a lot. And it's because of these things. Snowplows set the difference. And we have big snowplows. We probably have the best snowplow drivers in the universe. We win the Golden Snowball Award, not one year, but every year. Every year we're winning this award. Sometimes it's not just for the most snow in New York State. Sometimes it's on the North American angle. So it's not just the Golden Snowball Award, it's the Golden Snow Globe Award. And we're very proud of that as a destination marketing organization. Unfortunately, our community has seen that as a detriment. Let's hide from the idea that we get this much snow or have this harsh of a winter. Let's push that away, kind of lock it into the little closet underneath the staircase for a while. Well, no more. Because for us, winter is about changing perceptions. We're going to become the official home of winter. We're actually going to move winter in. And actually, January 6th, we had the official Welcome Winter Rally. Gavin was one of our speakers there. Instead of giving winter the keys to the city, we presented him a golden snow shovel. Though more than that later. We got so into this, we're actually one of those destinations that produces seasonal travel guides or visitor guides. Winter, spring, summer, fall. We said no more. This is way too complicated. 4 seasons, that's more than it needs to be. This is too complicated. We've gone to winter and not winter. Not winter is beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's one of the reasons that so many of us in central New York love to live there and people love to visit there. But we need to give winter its due. We need to recognize winter is not just a need period. It's a beautiful time of the year and one that we can really rally around. We need to overcome this whole fright and fear that happens when snow is predicted. Where I may not get home tonight because of this winter storm. That's okay. It's just what happens. We saw this as USA Today recognized the best Winter Wonderland nominees, and Gavin, there were a couple of New York nominees in there. But Syracuse wasn't, and that's unacceptable. We want to be the list. No one else. I'm always one that you borrow ideas that are really good. The program we've put together for this is we've actually borrowed from Fort Lauderdale. They actually invade New York and Boston and Chicago, winter places, each year to present sunny.org. And I was appalled at one line that I read here, and I'm going to read it to you. They said they went to Boston. They actually had to cancel their promotion in Boston in this past year. And they said, we woke up this morning to a gorgeous day in South Florida. We'll just beat the next storm to Boston. I feel bad for those people. Don't feel bad for us. Come and visit us. We rock when it comes to winter. We're changing those perceptions. So this is what Fort Lauderdale does when they invade our space. It's time we turn the tables on this. And the way we turn the tables is we become the official home of winter. So the way we're going to do this, we are going to actually take winter to the people who love winter most, the meteorologists. They need to become our mouthpiece for us. They're going to be the ones who push that message. And one of the ways we're lining up to do that is we take our character Winter. He's moved into Syracuse. Now, and you can watch the whole video series of how Winter moves here episodes 1 through 9, by going to officialhomeofwinter.com. And there's actually a whole video series that documents how the character Winter felt remorse, he felt just unappreciated. And Winter then learns about Syracuse. He sees that we produce a visitor guide for Winter. He gets involved with that, and he decides to make Syracuse his home. Winter's always going to go visit other places. Winter will be in D.C. probably tonight, doing some lobbying, but Winter always comes home to Syracuse. Our meteorologist friends out there can help us spread this message. In fact, we're going to be sending them direct mail kits, official take care of Winter kits, where the meteorologists are given a snow shovel, they're given some Syracuse beer, they're given some Central New York wines, they're given all of these things because we need them to spread the message of, well, we're going to be preparing for winter here in Memphis, but the folks in Syracuse and Central New York, they know how to deal with winter. They are the official home of winter. What about conventions and events and sports events? Well, our team has actually put together very enticing event incentives to lure event planners to come and bring their events that take place between November and March, bring those events into Syracuse. We want to be able to host that. We actually have had conversations with our film commissioner to actually do incentives around creating film. Where better to go film a winter film than Syracuse and Central New York? Fits with the official home of winter. We've gotten businesses involved. We're having conversations with many, many traditional and non-traditional business partners to come in and be a part of this program, join with us. If Winter's making Syracuse's home, then Winter's probably going to need a mortgage company to get his home in place. He may need we have an official mover of Winter. We actually had a moving company bring their trucks in as part of the staging for this. They were the official moving company of Winter. We can do so many different tags with this. We've got so many possibilities to pull this in, including packages and experiences that go into those communities that we're pushing this message. We hosted a media fam. First time we Visit Syracuse and our Central New York tourism partners have hosted a media fam in the wintertime. We've done a lot of partnerships with I Love New York to host journalists. But in this case, we wanted to get partners involved, and they were actually there pushing social media posts not only of assets that we have in Central New York, but they also were broadcasting live during the Winter Welcome Rally. Here's some of the placements that we saw from this. Changing the perceptions. We've already seen this take hold locally. In fact, I can't tell you how many people are now blaming me for either creating too much winter, me personally, or blaming me for, we haven't had snow since the start of January. So winter moved in and winter stopped apparently in Syracuse. So the fact that people are recognizing that their destination marketing organization is leading this program, we're creating kind of a new environment for our own local residents to get involved with, but it's also creating traction thanks to efforts like this. Heavy social media traction, heavy journalist and public relations traction as we push that message out there. So these are some of the placements that we've seen just from the welcome and start of this. We presented Winter with that golden snow shovel. So some good social media context right off the bat. And you can see the episodes there. As we start getting ready for the next horizon and kind of what this means, next week becomes very important. There's a day on February 2nd where decisions are made on how long winter's going to stick around. We've already had conversations. In fact, our team will be in Punxsutawney to protest for 6 more weeks of winter. This has to happen. We're going to be there with spotlights so the groundhog has to see his shadow. We have to push this message. We need winter to be happy. The wonderful thing about this, you can see more images of how we've just engaged our community around this. We really see this as not This can't be a 1 year and done program. This is one that we're really pushing. It's a chance for us to really create new perceptions, create monstrous amounts of change in terms of how people are viewing Syracuse as a destination. One of the statements that I've heard from other destination marketing organizations out there is, this is a great example of how a destination owns what it is. And that's what we all have to do. If we're doing that, no one can ever take it away from us, and no one can ever claim that we're trying to be something that we're not. This is who we are. We have a perception of those harsh winters, and we just need to push that message out there. We actually see the chance to create a different perception of winter as a chance to drive business for the rest of the year. By putting so much emphasis on that season, that low season, we have a chance now to change the perception and grow business throughout the rest of the year. You see how beautiful we are in winter? You're going to want to come back during not winter. With that, I'll take any questions. We got some big plans in the future for this, and winter's big enough. We can create ways to share it.
David, I commend you on creating a snowball effect on this. Just keep in mind that Staten Island also has a Groundhog Day celebration, and made famous by one mayor getting bit, another one dropping said groundhog, now remembering groundhog. But I'd be happy to put you in touch with Borough President Otto. I don't know,
awesome.
does Queens do a Groundhog Day as well? It's pretty much Staten Island thing, right?
Yeah. Staten Island Chuck.
Staten Island Chuck, right? You're going to let them have it? Okay, you keep the airports, they can have the groundhog, which technically is not a groundhog, I think, but it's I don't know what it is. A beaver. No, it's not a beaver. But because it's proximity to New York meteorologists, it might be.
We would definitely latch on to that, and that's the great thing about this. We've had we literally created a parking lot for ideas, because Gavin talked about he loves joining these team meetings, and the team just has so much energy and gets so involved. That's the way every single meeting we've had. We've been working with a company, a woman-owned company called Break the Ice Media. They've been a really close partner with us. No, the name was not the reason we selected them, but they've been such a close partner with us to get this started and to keep this rolling. They helped us create the videos. When we sit down for a 1 hour planning meeting, it literally becomes 2 hours because of the amount of ideas that are flowing around it.
Have you sent winter on the road yet, when Syracuse has passed over for a storm and other parts of the state are hit?
That may be something that we end up doing in the future. Again, those are ideas that we've built on. We've got our team going to Groundhog Day in Punxsutawney. We're not taking Winter with us. Winter may already be traveling somewhere else. He's a pretty busy guy.
You might also want to just tap into a new Broadway show that's going to be opening up in March called Groundhog Day. It's based on the movie, and it's gotten a lot of free publicity. Just,
It's great.
But that's something you can tap into.
It's great. It was really well done. It was fun being there.
It was great having you there.
Any other questions for David? Suggestions? No? Okay, well, just to keep on the Syracuse, just for another moment on new business, which I will open up now, and I will begin by explaining what the governor announced this morning. And thank you for being here, because I guess, you had the governor up in Syracuse today, you being here. I had the pleasure of serving on the task force for the State Fair round 2. Ross was with me on that, and so the governor announced the findings today of the task force, and the great news is he asked us to come up with, recommendations based on $50 million of investment. He actually invested $70 million. The press release Lisa can send out to you after this meeting, but just to give you some of the highlights, the State Fair will it's usually 12 days in the not winter period. It starts in August. It will go now for 13 days, because when we looked at the number of visitors at the State Fair, it has grown to over 1 million for the first time since, I think, the 60s or so.
I think
ever.
I think this was a record attendance this year.
Yeah. So in order to try and make it a more comfortable experience, they've added an extra day which they think will help. He is investing, or he announced the investment of $35 million into a 80,000 square foot multi-use convention expo center, which is really terrific because that will not only be functional during the 2-week period of the state fair, but it also makes the state fairgrounds alive throughout the entire year. So then during the winter period, for example, it can host basketball tournaments. And I think that was one of the, they were actually bidding on a basketball tournament, but they needed more space and they needed indoor facilities. So this is a terrific opportunity to be able to bring in some of those sports meetings, some of the other meetings. Syracuse Nationals is very involved with, I think they're going to be, it's a car show, but they're going to be booking two different car shows now with the building and the construction of this new 80,000 square foot hybrid building. So also announced today was a $15 million investment into an aerial gondola, which will transport visitors from the parking lot across the highway from the state fairgrounds, which has always been a challenge because they built a bridge a few years ago, but I mean, to be honest, a lot of people still don't want to walk that big, very big distance, especially if you have kids. And what's also fantastic is that across the highway, there's brand new, just this past summer, is a amphitheater for concerts, which is right on the lake. So really spectacular, beautiful, and with this parking for the amphitheater, they built that parking lot for the amphitheater, so now that could be used during the state fair, and now whatever concerts are going on at the amphitheater will be incorporated into the state fair marketing. So hopefully it'll attract even more people.
And actually, if I could just add there also around that lake there is a multi-use trail, which is connected to that trail you heard us talk about earlier, that the governor is announcing, that will literally go from New York to Canada, and then from New York to Albany and across to Buffalo, which means, in theory, you could bike from New York City to the state fair using that gondola.
Maybe you could bike.
and that will be, the idea being that will be in service year-round as another tourist attraction for the Syracuse area. That trail with the gondola could be.
So there are bike racks?
On the gondola?
No, at the state fair parking area.
I don't know.
Well, at the amphitheater, I think there is.
At the amphitheater.
Yeah, the amphitheater is definitely bike rack.
Yeah, but then you can take the gondola
and then you take the
over.
gondola over.
Yeah.
I didn't think you were taking the gondola.
But for those of you that don't want to ride bikes, there is an Amtrak that goes during the state fair, and Syracuse, JetBlue flies direct. I don't know, does Southwest fly to Syracuse? Not yet. Okay, well, maybe not ever, but I don't know. I'm not going to. So that's pretty good news. So Syracuse certainly is having a terrific day.
The parking. There's another, and there's another $15 million to do parking improvements, which may not sound like a big deal, but believe it or not, it's not a paved parking lot, and so there's actually an issue where if it rains, they lose something like 20% of their parking. And so that will be paved, a new ramp directly onto the highway so that leaving isn't the bottleneck that it has been now. So these are all important improvements coming forward.
Right. But we have a whole lot of time before the state fair. We have a whole lot more winter, so I'm looking forward to enjoying that. We have another meeting. Any other questions, new business, anything we need to?
I just had a comment to make, and something I think we should be mindful of. David, your slide showed, and we all are aware of how many visitors are coming from Canada. And we've had a couple of things at play. Number one, the dollar over the last few years, very strong to the Canadian dollar. But there have been a couple of other things I think it's worthy to note and be mindful of and thoughtful about. Number one, the new administration's suggestion to renegotiate NAFTA, I think, is making a lot of Canadians very, very nervous. And over the last several days, there were some incidents along our borders that have been widely reported in the Canadian media. And I think that could have somewhat of a response or something that Canadians are feeling about crossing the border and coming and spending their dollars in the U.S. There was already a lot of reporting about snowbirds over the course of the last several months who were deciding not to come to the U.S. this year for their winter breaks and winter vacations. And I think that as the discussions about NAFTA proceed, we have to be thoughtful about how we're marketing to Canadians and maybe be, mindful that they need to be welcomed, that we need to talk about friendship, because there will be noise, I think, at the, federal level that we have to potentially overcome in the state. So Quebec and Ontario are obviously two extremely important borders for us. And I think the notion of making Canadians feel welcome about coming has never been more important.
It's a very good point. Yep. I noted, Gavin, have you tracked the numbers? From what I understand, with the power of the dollar right now, the Canadian market, I think it might be the first time ever that it could drop off of the, it's usually number one for visitation when you count not overseas, but just international. And I think it's now going to be like number 3 or 4. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's what NYC and Company mentioned at a meeting recently.
Sounds right. Although we were hearing positive news about the fact that the loonie has been so depressed against the dollar for long enough that folks have adjusted to it, and advanced sales for some of the attractions we're seeing positive increments. So I'll definitely take your advice and check it out. I wasn't aware of any of that.
Dan Fuller, if you're still on the phone, you might want to comment on this, on the Canadian customer, because I think you get a whole lot of Canadians at your ski resort. Dan, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Actually, I rode at the lift on Saturday with about 7 Canadians that were down here, a group of fellows that were traveling, and we talked a little bit about the exchange rate, but they said they still see the value and they're still coming down, which was a great positive sign, because in the last couple of years, our Canadian business has dropped off a little bit.
Have you been marketing differently to the Canadians?
Yes, we have, in the way of actually providing other, more packages that are closer to, they aren't necessarily at par, but they're certainly closer to it, and they view that as a offer that we've had, or other ski areas have, is trying to bridge that gap a little bit between the both the value of the Canadian dollar and the U.S. dollar.
One other anecdotal piece. I Love New York LGBT has worked with Canadian Ski Club, Toronto Ski Association, to have an LGBT ski weekend, actually at Bristol Mountain. They did that for a number of years, and then they canceled one year because of the dollar. Then they canceled one year because of the snow. They're back this year. And I think it goes to that point that Gavin was saying, that they're kind of acclimating to the currency thing. But I think your point that
may be a good
is a new issue.
I think there's 2 new issues. I mean, one is the reporting in the media, and whether it's true or not, and I don't think that's been determined, that Canadians were denied access to come for either the inauguration or protest. So that is making people uncomfortable, and it's widely reported on the CBC, the Globe and Mail, the National Post, et cetera, et cetera. It is very much being discussed around water coolers today in Canadian cities, and as well. NAFTA is going to be a big emotional issue for Canadians. So I think as that progresses, we just need to be aware of it, that, extending that welcome and the messaging to Canadians of welcome and friendship, I think, have never been more important.
Really noted. Okay.
Christine, I just wanted to mention, you mentioned the Amtrak stop at the fair. That stop is at the fair, but it's subject to a negotiation with CSX every year. And in past years, that agreement has happened at the last minute because CSX holds Amtrak hostage. They wanted millions of dollars to make that happen. I think the governor's office was instrumental last year in facilitating that. But if you're planning on marketing it, it would be great for that conversation maybe to happen earlier, so that, because even Amtrak can't market that stop until the official agreement is in place. And last year it happened like the week before, so it prevented them from really marketing that.
I'm glad you brought it up. It actually was part of our discussion on the task force, and we had reiterated to Troy and others who, how important that stop is. I did not see it in the press release, but it's on my list of things to follow up on and see where we are with that. So,
Right.
but thank you.
Because Amtrak has a like a kids ride free program.
Yeah.
That's a great promotion, but again, the word doesn't get out there because they're prohibited from marketing it until the agreement's in place.
Yeah, and interesting, I went on Amtrak's website just a couple of days ago to see how they were marketing the state fair. I punched in the dates
Right.
of the state fair, and they actually had the dates as if you could buy the tickets.
Okay.
So,
Well, you can buy tickets to Syracuse, you just have to go through Albany and change.
no, but
No,
there's a
there's a-
spur
there's-
to the
there's
state
a- there's a
fair.
stop right at the
Yeah,
fairgrounds.
it stops on the
Yeah.
fairgrounds. And in fact, good news is, aside from the schedule, last year's improvements, I don't know if you've been there recently,
Yeah.
but they have, they've done a lot of paving, so they were able to bring the RV park closer into where the infield is. So even though it's the same distance, it feels a lot closer, because where you get on and off at Amtrak, you're sort of not in the, sort of the outskirts, you're kind of right there where there are a lot of people. So I think it feels a lot better, you know, and then they have the trolleys that take you, or actually the air-conditioned buses, so.
Right.
But it's a good point and a good reminder. Thanks for raising it. Anybody else? Yes, Randy.
This is a little bit out of left field, forgive me, but a quick thought, question, perhaps suggestion. There was a reference earlier in the meeting today to the anniversary, I guess the centennial of women's suffrage.
Yes.
And my question is whether New York State has done anything to assert its rightful claim as the home of women's suffrage, going back to Seneca Falls and continuing.
Yeah, Spike, are you still on the line? Okay, Spike has done a tremendous job on promoting that, and through his organization, which is the Cultural Alliance, Tourism Cultural Alliance. But it seems like everywhere I turned reading, there was a blip about it. So I would be hard pressed to find people that didn't know that it was the 100th anniversary of that. But
Well, I'm also.
It'd be interesting to see it marketed. Though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
I'd like to see license plates. It's a little late to suggest this, I know.
The commission that was referred to earlier, that the Lieutenant Governor heads up, which is the Suffrage Commission, we've been involved with, myself, Gavin, Rich Newman, and we are in fact talking about the ways to market and maximize this year to talk about that. One of the things we're talking about is not only talking about the women's suffrage piece, but taking that one circle further to women's rights in general, and frankly, taking that one step further to civil rights in general.
Yeah.
Because New York is, its important role in abolition history, LGBT rights, and women's rights are unparalleled. We're the home of all those movements in one way or another. Well, home to two, and prominent in the other. And so I think you will be seeing that marketing coming forward, and we'll be happy to talk to the TAC about that and the number of ways we're doing that, from what's going to be its presence through our social media and our travel guide and TV, et cetera, et cetera.
And we had planned on talking about that a little more during the May meeting, which leads up to National Tourism Week, which leads up to all of our marketing for the summer. So that would be part of that meeting is in Albany. So you'll hear more about that. But thanks, Randy.
Hey, Christine, it's Tom Mulroy. I have to drop off now, if that's okay.
That's fine.
You
I
need
think
me for
we're
anything?
just wrapping up, but thank you. Thanks, Tom. All right, so the
Okay.
next meeting
Have a
is
great
going to
day,
be...
guys.
Thank you.
Hi, and this is Linda from Finn Partners. The anniversaries are a big part of our public relations programming for this year, from press visits to pitching. We want to get a lot of people up into the Erie Canal area, into the women's suffrage areas. I have a trip. We're organizing a trip right now in March for somebody who's following the Underground Railroad, and we are finalizing a press release that we're going to be presenting very shortly. It'll also include World War I activities, Frank Lloyd Wright's 150th anniversary, and there's a few more this year that are very, very striking, and that there's a lot of events going on around the state to commemorate.
Terrific, Linda. Thanks so much.
Great.
All right, so...
This is Morris Silver from Finn Partners. I don't know how many of you are aware of the article that was recently written in Travel Agent magazine urging agents to focus on U.S. Travel because of the problems they're having in Europe and in the Middle East with terrorism. And they're suggesting that they look for new destinations. And it's the first time I've ever seen a travel agent come out and actually say, don't go into international travel. Stay at home this year. And New York is one of the areas that they listed as a high priority, but they're talking about the city rather than the state. And I think there's an opportunity to get the travel agents and tour operators to focus on New York State this year.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
And the article ran just recently, within the last couple of weeks, I believe. And you might get copies of it and send it to some of the tour operators and say, look, you're missing an opportunity.
It was Travel Weekly.
We'll find it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll hop on that, but thank you for that. Okay, without further ado, I think we need to conclude now. Our next meeting will be on Monday, March 13th here in New York City. Thank you all for this very interesting meeting, and I look forward to hearing more ideas before the March 13th, and you'll be getting the agenda a week or two before. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.